Welcome to Chaotic Harmony. My name is John.
This is Crystal. We talk about the joys and the challenges of teaching music in the elementary school classroom.
We share struggles, we brainstorm solutions.
And we would love to have you join us. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Chaotic Harmony. I have things to say, John.
About what?
About lots of things. I have very strong opinions about most things, but I'm going to focus on one in particular. Okay, so after I left conference, I got to fly to Toledo, Ohio. Right. The Ohio Music Educator Association, their District 1 elementary person reached out to me a few months ago and said that when she had run a poll of their teachers of the kind of professional development they really wanted, it had to do with burnout resistance and SEL. And so she reached out to me after some people shouted me out on the AOSA discussion page. Thanks, guys. And we have we planned this session, and it was beautiful. It was a lovely group of educators, and they were vulnerable and honest, and it was interesting going and teaching that workshop after conference because, like we said in the last episode, we just watched so many different teachers who were really, really excellent. And we were together with hundreds of other music teachers, right? Who, and, everything went well. Yeah. Everything was complex and we layered it. And it's just a level of complexity that I can't achieve in my classroom right now. And whenever I teach a workshop, I only present lessons that have worked for me in my classroom on my actual kids. And I have very real kids, Yeah, definitely. I teach in a public school. Yeah. And I see my kids once a week. And it was really good to hear the feedback from the participants that, they found it helpful and usable. And we spent the first hour of the workshop not doing music class activities, but focusing on the teachers, because it's been hard to be a teacher in the last 3 years. So we talked about trauma, we talked about burnout resistance, and we just talked about naming it. And something that came up that has inspired me was that I had a lot of feedback from them about the specific challenges going on in their classrooms, and it's nothing new. It is exactly what we're going through. And I sometimes wonder if in our little island, on the border, is what everywhere is like, or if it's different, like we teach different kids. Right. Even our two schools, we teach very different populations.
Demographics are different.
They're very different. Yeah. And our kids do have different needs, and you and I are very different teachers.
Vastly.
And so our classrooms don't look the same, but we do intersect on certain challenges.
Definitely.
And so we've talked about it, kids. So here's what I'm hearing. Kids have a lack of attention span. They have a very low tolerance for any kind of frustration. If something's too hard, they give up. We talked about that.
We did talk about that.
Engaging the disengaged, low coping skills, emotionally, socially, eloping. That's the fancy word for running out of the classroom. It's getting
married with each other. Wait, what?
And that behavior in particular is getting better. Yeah. But I still have a lot of kids who struggle to stay in the classroom. Yeah. And just escalating, really fast. And it's different than it's ever been. So I feel like the kids are losing it more than usual. And in talking to these people from a really far away than where I teach, it's not just me. They also have exactly the same things. When I was naming off that list, they were just nodding their heads, and then they were adding to it. And so,
what did they add? I'm curious. Do you know? Remember anything that was different that you didn't have?
Just a slightly different perspective.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, the saying things like lots more foul language than they've ever heard before. The kids losing interest and getting kind of that older kid attitude earlier. Like the too cool for school thing.
I noticed that
in younger grades.
Not so much the too cool, but oh my goodness, last year was the thirstiest group of sixth graders I've ever had.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there were so many relationships. There were so many relationships.
That kind of thirsty.
Yeah, that kind of thirsty.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that was insane.
They're aware of each other.
They're aware of of a lot of things. They're each other, different sexualities, just et cetera, et cetera.
Interesting.
Faster than years prior.
I think that might feed into what I'm going to talk about today too. Okay, so we're going to talk about bunker babies.
Bunker babies.
Bunker babies.
I'm sorry, when you said that to me earlier, it's like, what?
I know, it sounds weird.
Kids from the Y2K?
Nope. hang with me. No, they're all out of college now.
I know.
They're old enough to be parents.
We're the olds.
We are the olds. All right, so we're going to talk about bunker babies, and I'll get to what that means. So a lot of this information is coming from a professional development that I attended through our district. Okay. And it was really good information, and it inspired me to kind of go down a rabbit hole of my own after I got home because it really resonated with me. So because they were coming at it for the average classroom teacher, and here are strategies for the classroom teacher to deal with. But how do you take these strategies when you are in charge of teaching an entire school? It's a little different, but the challenges are the same. Sure. So that's the angle I'm going to be coming at it with me. Okay, so bunker babies are, this is a widely used term now.
Fascinating. Okay.
Yes. And a lot of people will use it to describe children born during 2020, 2021, during the pandemic, especially during lockdown. But it is also being applied to any child who was at a critical developmental stage when the world shut down. That's what a bunker baby is.
Those are two vastly different demographics.
They are, but they have a lot in common.
Sure, but we don't have the data on those who are...
It's starting to come.
Okay.
It is actually starting to come out. Okay. So we are seeing low frustration tolerance, and there are good reasons for it. So, so I'm going to go back. I took so many notes. All right. So here are some of the things that they were exposed to. Highly stressed parents working from home. Yeah. Less language exposure at school. And I mean, obviously, like they're hearing language spoken from fewer people, especially directly to them. Much more time in front of a screen, less stimulating experiences, less social interaction, less practice waiting, zero frustration tolerance. So these were kids who, they didn't go anywhere for a while. Yep. Parks were shut down, beaches were shut down. They didn't go to the store. They really, their world was home. And there are a lot of kids that we teach that don't have safe outdoor spaces to play. They live in apartments. And so I know a lot of kids who didn't even go outside hardly at all. Definitely. For months at a time. Screen time, the average amount of screen time for a United States child during the lockdown period in the last 3 years, 8 hours a day or more, right? Which tracks. Over 80% of that time was spent on YouTube.
Makes sense.
So this was really interesting. This really snagged my attention. So speaking about zero tolerance for frustration, when an ad pops up on YouTube, it's 5 seconds before you can click away from the ad, right? And the data shows that most children will just click to the next video. They won't even wait that 5 seconds. So they are not used to waiting. They're used to being constantly stimulated.
That's fascinating.
Isn't it? When I first started teaching, I was told that 11 minutes is the attention span of most children because that is the amount of time between commercial breaks on their favorite TV show. So we don't even have that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, television's dying.
I mean, I know. I'm really dating myself, and I understand.
As am I.
I started teaching before YouTube was invented. It's been a while.
Wait, really?
Yeah. YouTube didn't exist when I was in college.
Yeah, but you weren't. Were you teaching while you were in college?
Well, immediately after.
Yeah, when did you start teaching?
2008.
Yeah, YouTube was out there already.
Barely.
Yeah, but
it was not widely used.
When you said it like before,
all right,
I was
fine.
Like,
it was not widely used, and it's certainly not what it is today.
Yes,
it wasn't.
Vastly different.
It was not the.
We had E-Bombs World. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm dating myself now.
Anyway, I thought that was. Isn't that an interesting perspective, though?
The ad element is very fascinating.
Yeah,
that is fascinating.
Yep. 81% of the time on YouTube. So in Columbia University just ran a study, and they found that we have 3 times the need for cognitive, social, and other skills post-pandemic to be built than we did before. So a lot of these kids missed their well baby visits from the doctor. When you have a baby, you have to take them to the doctor every month for a checkup. And then you have a well child visit every 6 months or a year. As your child gets older, they get their vaccinations. And the pediatrician's just on on the lookout for things. And so they'll give them an examination, and then you fill out a questionnaire just to make sure that they're hitting their milestones. And that's how we get funneled into early interventions. But we were not attending, those things for a couple of years. And so now we're going to start seeing in our classrooms, in our kindergarten classrooms, a whole bunch of kids who are a couple years late getting interventions for screenings for autism and learning disabilities and things like that. So it makes sense. And the kids are just used to constantly being on their screens now.
Sure.
So they melt down when expectations of any kind are imposed, because for so long, and I include myself in this, as a person who had to work from home, with my kids at home, I did the best I could, but screen time definitely increased in our home.
Sure.
I did everything I could to keep it down, but it was difficult. It was really, really hard. And when you need a quiet house in order to get work done, and outside's not a safe place to be, and you can't really watch your kids outside, that's tough.
Yeah.
Kids learn through play, and a lot of, and play is just too loud when you're trying to work from home. So a lot of the kids, they missed out on critical playtime.
They missed out on traditional playtime.
Sure.
I don't know. As someone who grew up with, I hate trying to use the term, I grew up with the internet, but like I grew up in that era, like where and there was also similarly as well, not nearly to the same extent as bunker babies were, but like I was, in order for me and my brother to stay at home, when we probably shouldn't at the age, technically.
Sure. Well, latchkey kids, right? Is that what you're talking about?
I don't think
no.
Can you explain
like where you came home from school and you were alone for a few hours?
Even for weekends, like because of transportation and stuff, like we were just at home.
Yeah.
And so, we made, either we played on the grass outside, or we were on the computer for a long time. And that was my window to the rest of the world at the time.
We watched obscene amounts of TV.
Yeah, exactly.
But still, you did have school, and you had, you had exposure. So like the issues are coming out of a generation of kids now who didn't have any of that, of those buffering experiences outside of the screen time. And we knew that there were going to be consequences. I remember people saying, when we were going through it, we are going to see this show up in our classrooms. It's here. Now it is here. And we are all dealing with it. And then the other thing that I thought was really important to talk about, their kids are used to basically directing their own time and having full free range.
Sure.
And so when they come into an environment like school, where the expectations are laid down, they have very strong reactions against it. It's different. And then the other thing is the toxic stress of the pandemic. So I thought this was really helpful to talk about. There are 3 levels of stress that psychologists identify. Okay. So you've got positive stress, tolerable stress, and toxic stress. So positive stress helps us build resilience and cope with life, right? Yeah. That's the minor everyday stresses where you just have to wait in a line, and you have to learn to be patient. Like whenever I'm with my boys and we're out and about somewhere and we have to wait in a line, like pick up a medication at the pharmacy or whatever it is, I'll just tell them when they start getting antsy, we're going to exercise our patience muscles right now. That's positive stress. And you have a buffering adult to help you through it. Tolerable stress, that's the big stuff that happens. So those are like deaths, accidents, emergencies that can be mediated with support. So you have your adults at home, and then we might bring in the bigger team to help get somebody through that. That's tolerable stress. It doesn't mean that the event itself is tolerable. It means that you're given the tools and the adults to get you through it. Now, toxic stress is ongoing levels of elevated adversity and neglect where you don't have those buffering adults. So you're ignored. People aren't paying attention to you. Yeah. You're going through hard stuff. And then our kids are basically being poisoned by the amount of cortisol or adrenaline in their bodies. And their amygdalas actually become enlarged over time. And that's the fight or flight little lizard part of your brain. And then when you have an enlarged amygdala, you escalate faster and you shut down and you don't use your thinking brain, your prefrontal cortex. So that's what we're seeing now. So pre-pandemic, we saw a lot of kids with tolerable stress. I had a lot of kids with tolerable stress in their lives, and we had structures in place for them. It wasn't perfect,
sure,
but we were doing what we could. Post-pandemic, we have very high levels of toxic stress. And a lot of these kids even have lack of attachment to caregivers because they just didn't have the capacity at the time when it was really critical to bond. So how do we deal with it as teachers? And so that's what I have to give here. But sure. Before I go on to any of that, I'm watching you process this in real time, and it's interesting.
Yeah, if you're, I have a lot of facial expressions at the moment. Because
and part of them are very skeptical.
Skeptical is the wrong word.
Okay.
I think the issue is, these are valid concerns. I'm going to place that caveat. Not even caveat. I'm going to place that first and foremost. I think there's definitely a need for there to be support. So rather, should I say, as we mentioned in the last episode, the whole element of creating parameters for someone to then find their way through life, or find their way through a lesson, as we were mentioning in the last episode, but find their way through life is very needed. I'm processing all this because part of me is like, this is just like, I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts in the element of like, the symptoms are valid. The symptoms are a concern.
Yeah.
Some of the causes, though, I fear is like, yeah, but that's just the direction where we went. That's just the direction where technology's gone also. And is it right or wrong? Is it? I feel like a lot of people throw at these technologies, or at these, like, having too much screen time is bad. Yes, it is.
It is.
It is.
That is established.
That said, we survived using different means of play. We found new means of play.
Yeah, you're right.
For example, games like Roblox, games like Minecraft, created means of create communities for kids to then create their own rules and break their own rules, and find there was tensions in that space that was on the playground, but it was on the digital playground. Yeah. So the problem is screen time is just too broad, I feel like. And I get as someone who is very technology based, it gets concerning when, like, I think about when people, through their access towards video games being the reason why there was more gun shooting, which it wasn't. So many cases proved it wrong. Right. So my initial reaction is, wait, hold up. Okay, let's not toss the baby out with the bathwater. You're not doing this, but I know parents are. I know a lot of people are. And so let's try to pinpoint, okay, these are the symptoms. This is what happened. Let's try to. So in my brain, the whole momentum is like, okay, where is the actual problem?
No, I think that those are really good points. I think that there is a huge difference between sitting in front of a screen and having entertainment 100% delivered to you, and engaging with something and building it yourself. I do hear that. I do also worry about how stimulating being, on video games all the time are, as my children are sitting in the corner on hour 3 of being on video games. So, I mean, yes, I notice a difference in their behavior when they spend hours and hours, even doing those active play things like that versus being outside with friends and building something in the dirt and playing at the park. It is a big difference.
It is different. And I think, but the subcategories are important. And I think so too. And I think that's where I'm fully in agreement in that. With what the point of this. And also, what kind of games are they playing? That's another element. There's that too. Is it something that's just, are they playing co-op? Or is it like something more like, okay, I'm creating with my friends? I mean, sure. So it's that's where my brain is going towards, like, when you saw all these reactions, like, what are the subcategories? I understand. So I think the main point is that we had only screen time available. Yes. And we had no person-to-person time available. And the adults were highly stressed. Yes. And the outside supports were not available. That's what it was. Yep. Like our entire support infrastructure as parents just collapsed right under our feet. And some parents, I don't mean this to be a case of judgment. Yeah. Towards the parents, but some parents had the means to do it better than others. Oh, yeah. And so I think that's just where... Absolutely, yeah. Some parents had more time and more money. Yeah. Yeah, and more connections. All of those things made a big difference. Yeah.
It's yeah. So that's the point.
So that's just one.
That's the point. The toxic stress is not coming from the screens alone. No. The toxic stress is coming from only screens plus all the other stuff.
Yeah, and also like kids pick up on the stress of their parents.
Oh my gosh, they do. And things are not back to normal.
I felt so bad. I was talking to a friend of mine at church, and like I was not having a good time. I was talking to him about something that was happening in my life. He was holding his baby. His baby was just started crying more and more. I was like, oh, I should stop talking because I'm realizing that it's me. The baby's picking up on this.
Yeah.
And so yeah, they pick up on
that's real.
That's real.
That's a sympathetic nervous system response.
And they don't, and especially at his age, the young baby just didn't know how to process it either, because
that's how your kids in your classroom react too.
Exactly.
Thanks for the segue. That goes right into what I'm going to talk about.
I planned it perfectly. You know?
I really appreciate it. So kids are very, very feeling creatures, and they're very present. They really don't think much about the day before or even the hour before. They think about right now, and they might reflect a little bit, but that's not very natural for a child. They are very in the moment. The younger they are, the more in the moment they are. And you can't teach a child to behave better by making them feel worse. They have to feel good before their behavior follows, which is why we need to go with connection before correction. And that it's become a mantra of mine. I think it's really important. And as a person who has feelings, I don't have perfect days all the time.
Sure.
And there are times where you just want them to feel bad. Gosh, darn it, for making your life so hard. And you should be ashamed. It's just not effective, though. If we want real lasting change of behavior from them, we have to connect with them and acknowledge that they're human and help them understand that we're on their team and that we want them to be the best version of themselves. When they get that and they really feel that from you and they feel that love from you first, then they'll go along with the correction a little better.
So then there's been a lot of pushback towards this approach of
connection before correction,
or just pretty much, like,
totally, that we're not coming down hard enough on the kids.
Yes. There have been some,
and that's why kids these days are so soft and they can't follow rules and blah blah blah,
which has been literally since the beginning of time.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
And I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the camera now. I was like, come on. But
no, I hear it all the time.
But there's
come at me, let's do it.
There have been some cases where kids are having some issues. We have a behavior specialist, and she's a phenomenal behavior specialist.
Right.
She pulls them aside, and instead of them being on the playground, they decompress in her room. And I've had teachers that have been, okay, I get it, but when they come back, they just feel like they were rewarded.
Yeah.
And I understand what our behavior specialist is trying to do.
Yeah. She has to connect with them to build that relationship of trust.
Right.
Otherwise, the child will not willingly go to her room, and she can't be a help.
Right.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the teacher this one teacher I'm thinking about specifically, she's a great teacher. She has just a lot of students that are difficult this year in her room specifically compared to the other classes in her cohort for some reason.
Right.
But it is what it is. But yeah, so she's just been trying to, like, it was hard for her to accept, wait, why did they come back? She's saying, oh, we just colored.
Yeah.
But yet when she was growing up, it was like very much, you should feel bad.
Yeah. Well, that's how most of us were raised. Yeah, but when you know better, you do better. I get it. And we have those same tensions at my school. I think those tensions exist everywhere. What I really want to focus on, though, is how do we deal with it in our classrooms when we're trying to process hundreds of kids through our room every day. So that's where my focus is going to be. Sure. I can't solve
school-wide problem.
I can't solve school-wide problems, but I'm just going to share where my brain is right now on it. Okay, so this is what connection before correction means to me, and this was said in the PD, and I thought it was really helpful. So I'm actually going to write this down and have it posted somewhere. He's not giving me a hard time. He's having a hard time.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And especially for all those reasons that I talked about, with the pandemic and with the stress, kids, more of them than ever are having a hard time and they need help.
Rarely isn't it a personal attack.
Right.
Almost never.
A couple years ago I got bit and it broke the skin. And I had 6 months of bloodborne pathogens testing from this first grader who freaked out. And I didn't know much about how to de-escalate a child at the time. I was thoroughly unprepared for how to react to that situation. And I wanted that kid to feel remorse. Are you kidding me? Because I had to walk around with a bandage on my hand and spend hours at the doctor and like work on, but him coming to music class the next week and being happy to see me, if my response had been anything other than, I'm so glad you're here, there would have been no room to build that relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I've still got him. He's a 6th grader now. Did he
6
years later. Yeah, right. No, you know what? He's actually turned a corner. I'm really proud of him.
That's great.
Yeah, because we've been able to give him a lot of support. But this is a real thing. Like, you have to connect if you want to see that behavior change, and you got to show that you're a safe grown-up, and that's really, really hard, but you're not alone. We're all dealing with this at the same time, and the only control we have is our own behavior. We can't control the kids. I was talking with a parent at my kid's birthday party, and I was just talking about how one of my 2nd grade classes did not do what I wanted them to do at a performance, and and she made the comment, "Oh, that must have been so embarrassing for you." I was like, I stopped taking the kids' behavior personally a long time ago.
It's funny. A student asked me a similar question I mentioned this on an earlier podcast. We did the students did a really bad job on a choir performance. Mm-hmm. It was due to a myriad of reasons. We didn't have an accompanist to sing a click track, and it was our worst performance since I first started going there. It was really bad. Mm-hmm. And so we had a talk, and it was less about me, like, how dare you? It was more like, hey, I didn't set you up for success. I want to apologize first. Mm-hmm. And then we just talked. But beforehand, one of my students says, did your pride get shattered after that concert? I said, no, it didn't. It's not about me.
It's not about me. That was you.
That was y'all.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like...
And that's the only reaction you get to... Like, you didn't get to choose how they behaved on that stage.
No. And all their behaviors was understandable. I think
they're kids.
They're kids. That's really what it boils... And even I think... something that we need to think about, even as adults, even when we interact with other adults, they're also just kids sometimes. We're just kids sometimes.
We're all just humans.
Yeah.
And we're doing the best that we can.
Right.
Yeah.
So instead of trying to control the situation, how do we try to maneuver the situation? We can try to maneuver the situation.
Yeah.
We can alter our perspective. We can also alter certain things in our environment that we have control over in the environment, but the kid's still going to be the kid. Mm-hmm. So what can we do instead of pushing the kid to join us? How can we pull them to join us? Or how can we...
I think it's important to remember too, how we feel when we go to spaces that are not very familiar, and how we feel when we are nervous and full of adrenaline, because our classrooms are not the classrooms they walk into every day. True. They are a rather novel place to be.
Especially if the teacher is a part-time teacher.
Yes.
Even less.
Yes.
Even less.
And the stage is not a natural habitat.
No.
That is a very uncomfortable place to be. And when a kid is flooded with adrenaline, they react to it in different ways. Sometimes they get crazy because they don't have very good regulation skills.
And also sometimes they get confident, which is also really cool to see. But that's a different...
that's a different one.
But,
and that's nice to see, but that's not the ones that we're concerned about.
It was just fascinating to see when we had a concert at a different school site this year. And like they felt like, this feels different.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, cool. Mm-hmm. Anyways.
Totally.
Yeah. Which I think, again, side comment, but I think that just showcases more why we need to have our kids in different environments perform.
Yeah. Yes, we do, because things will go perfectly in the music room, but once they're on the stage, they forget everything they've done in the music room.
But the more they practice outside the music room,
the better they get.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
But back to Bunker Babies.
I just want to say we're all doing the best we can with what we have right now. Yeah. And parents and administrators want things to be back to pre-pandemic, and they're not going to be for a long time.
I am thankful to have... I think that's my biggest issue. That's what it came down to. Mm-hmm. not so much admin, thankfully, on my side, but parents want things to go back to the way things were.
Yep.
And that's why I had that aversion when you saw those like contortions in my face. But we can't go back.
We can't go back. There's only moving forward.
There's only we can't go back. Like, things have changed. The world has changed.
Yeah.
Kids are in front of screens more often.
Yeah.
And so what's our pivot?
A lot of those behavioral patterns are set, and they're only in school for so many hours a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So instead of us complaining at the youths, complaining at what they're absorbing, saying that we were better people, which we weren't when we were at their age.
Yeah, we weren't.
Let's sit down.
You just forgot.
Let's compare. Really.
Yeah.
Let's process this. They're actually, in some regards, probably in better situations than we are.
Yeah, I think so.
In some regards.
I think a lot of things have gotten better. I do too. I don't subscribe to that things were all rosy and perfect when I was raised. They weren't.
When were they?
They never were. No, they never were, but we are facing some very real challenges.
We are, yes.
So that's my point. So this applies now and has always applied, but don't hold grudges and don't take things personally. And that's really hard. But it's super important to understand what your own triggers are too. That's why therapy is cool.
Yeah, therapy is cool. And also I'm thankful I'm at a site where my admin gets it.
Yeah.
And sometimes, unfortunately, I feel like a lot of teachers feel pressure not because of the kids are not producing, but because the eyes that are looking at them, be it parents or be it admin that are looking at them are...
Well, and the admin get it from the parents. They're under tremendous pressure.
But also admin sometimes did or did not get it even before COVID.
That's true.
That's another element. Like, do they understand what we're doing?
There's also been a lot of turnover in administration in the last couple of years. So we have a lot of brand new administrators. So there's that piece of the puzzle too. I think it's very complex.
I think all parties need more grace.
I think so too, but that's hard when you're still processing your own trauma.
Oh yeah.
And therefore, the only behavior you can control is yours. So don't take things personally. Respond. Don't react. Take a beat. If you got to take a breath, do it.
Yeah.
We might want, like I said, we might want the kids to feel bad, to change their behavior. But we know from the research that when the children feel better, they act better more quickly. And it's not instant. When
they can trust you, they will want to do better.
Yeah. Yeah, and that doesn't mean that we ignore the bad behavior.
No.
And I think that is the piece of the puzzle that we might be missing from before. It's like, the stuff that I do in my classroom takes a lot of time. Yeah. The way I deal with unwelcome behaviors takes a lot of time and investment and a lot of emotion on my part. But I'm either going to be doing it at the beginning, at the front end to head it off, or I'm going to be dealing with the... I'm going to be dealing with the consequences of me not doing that later. It's like both are hard, so choose your hard.
Yep.
So which hard are you going to choose? And I think we should probably be choosing the one that helps the kids be better humans and the one that makes us feel better. When you lose your cool as a teacher and you have a not so great human moment, that doesn't feel good. That doesn't make you want to get up in the morning and go back to work. But if you can, be proud of how you handled yourself as a mentor, even if the kid doesn't look like it's sinking in, you just never know what's going on in their little brains.
The soil is deep with the seedy plant in there.
Yeah.
Takes some time.
And as elementary teachers, we often do not see the result.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's probably one of the hardest parts. We don't get big kids coming back and saying thank you very often. They don't remember as well.
They don't, but something that can help with that is try to find ways to bring the older students back in there.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yes. And that always is nice when people say thank you, but that's not why you do it.
But not for yourself, but also for the community as well. It's that if they're trying to work towards as well, like trying to build,
Yeah. So if we want to control the tone of our room and we want to have some control over our own behavior, here's what you can do. You got to figure out how to keep yourself calm, whatever that looks like. For me, that looks like having peppermint or lavender oil going because I need my room to smell good. And
do you don't like the smell of like oily feet?
No, or sixth graders? No.
You don't like the smell of body odor?
I really don't. No, I need my room to smell
Jason,
good.
I smell you today.
Oh, gross. I need my room to smell good, and I need it to be clean and organized. I need to know where stuff is, and reach out for support. I have a whole support team. I love my therapist. And then provide a space for the children to de-escalate and maybe identify a space for yourself. My art teacher and I have a nice little patio where we can go breathe if we need a minute. in between classes or on lunch break or during recess. And I have a calm down desk with a few things on it for the kids. Just little breathing cards and there's like a squishy, one of those squishmallow things. And they can go put their head down if they need to. And then the most important thing to prioritize in the moment when something is going down is your physical safety and the physical safety of the other children. Yeah. And once you've got that and you know that the physical safety is there, then we can work on emotional support and on just making the room a safe place and you identifying yourself as a safe grown-up. Mm-hmm. So yeah, kind of like that baby having that sympathetic nervous system response. Like sometimes the best thing you can do is put on calm music and start breathing yourself so that no matter how escalated the children are, you show that you are a predictable, calm, safe, consistent grown-up. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought this was a good little thing too from the PD. Clear is kind, unclear is unkind. And so are your rules posted? Are your expectations easy to understand and follow? Yeah. Do you go over them? Remember, if you're like me, you only see your kids once a week. That's a lot of time to forget.
And your rules might be different than the other general teachers'
Mine absolutely are. Yeah. Yeah, so I go over my rules and my procedures and my listening cues first thing every single class. Mm-hmm. It doesn't take very long.
No.
Yeah.
If it is taking too long, maybe you might want to reconsider how you're presenting it.
And then have some sort of system to keep yourself accountable for saying nice things too. Because you want to praise the heck out of the behavior that you want to see.
Going back to what I said about Victor Lozada last episode, like how students who did not, emerging bilingual individuals, when they're still trying to process English or the language they're trying to process, praise helps them guide where they're supposed to go.
Yeah.
So much.
And smiles.
Because otherwise, if you do the opposite, they're going to feel like trash.
Yeah, it's
we
true.
felt like trash as big kids trying to navigate that lesson where we didn't understand 80% of what he was saying.
Yeah. It's hard.
Praise is important.
It is. I have these little hearts that are, they're made out of rose quartz, and I like putting them in my pocket. I have 5 of them, and I put them in my pocket, and I try to use them as a reminder for myself of I'm going to point out somebody doing something that I really like. Like, oh, Sophia, I love that you saw that I forgot to give Andrew a scarf. Thank you so much for going and getting one for him. That was so kind of you, you know? And we have our school-wide PBIS stuff where we identify the kids who have gone out of their way to do a good, kind, safe, or responsible thing, and then we can turn their name in for a prize drawing to the principal. So I'll write them a little ticket for the raffle and use those as well. That's also really helpful. But some sort of accountability system for yourself to remember to do that.
Because you got a lot of kids.
Yeah, you got a lot of kids.
You got a lot of kids, and that's just part of it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I choose my line leader at the end of class. I call them my class conductor because they're the person who's conducted themselves with the best decorum in my classroom, and also music conductors because they're the leaders.
It's because they're the cutest, and so
no, I actually to try to help me combat my own bias with it, I have Idokio. It's an iPad app.
Is it Idokio or Idosio? I have no clue.
Is it Idokio?
It's a hard K. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
That's how they say it on the website.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, in the videos.
Early on, I said Idosio. I was like, then I'm hearing this new influx of people. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what the tutorial video says, so that's what I'm going with, and I'm not saying that. But they have this random feature where you can push a dice and it'll draw somebody for you, cool. And then it'll go through the whole class by the end of the year. So I keep track of who's been class conductor and who still needs to go, and then I can roll to see who pops up, and then I can do a quick mental check, like how has he been behaving
Going
today?
back to what you said earlier, though, like all this is only possible if you yourself are in a grounded mindset.
That's right. Yep. Never in the history of calming down has anyone ever calmed down by being told to calm down. That's by Calvin and Hobbes. So.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. If you're feeling frustrated and angry, it's always better to wait a minute before you deal with it and start disciplining, so that you can be calm. Because they will co-regulate with you if you're calm. They will continue to escalate. And again, always prioritizing physical safety. So if somebody's going to get hurt, then you got to do what you got to do. But if you have the space and you just know that you're frustrated, take a breath. So, yeah. And then validate them too. Yep. You know, like you got to get down on the kid's eye level and let them talk it out a little bit. And then once it's out, say, that sounds really hard. I'm so sorry. That must feel awful. And tell them, like we said before, you know, if it's true, you're not in trouble. I just want to help you.
Get over here.
I know, right?
Going back to the Calvin Hobbes phrase, like, there are times where that's needed. Like, usually not in an educational sense.
Yeah,
but like,
not in our classrooms.
If it's like, but the thing is, though, the reason why someone will calm down if you say calm down is if they trust you first.
And that goes, and it's less about the language that you say, and that's a co-regulating thing. Like you're calm, and it's always better to say something like, that sounds really hard, and I'm here for you, and I'm so glad you told me.
There are better ways. There are definitely always better ways to say it, calm down, other than calm down. But it starts with the trust and rapport that you've built with the kid prior to it.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I have to say.
Yeah.
That's it for now. I'm chewing on some more thoughts when it comes to this, but I found that really helpful. It's always good to have these reminders. I think a lot of this is stuff that we've talked about before and that we know to be true.
It's just becoming more and more prevalent.
It is, an understanding that it's not just us where it's becoming more, and it's not in your head. Like it is more and more prevalent. Like we're dealing with this on a very large scale, and we will continue to deal with it on a large scale. And so you just got to keep yourself sane in the middle of it.
Because COVID's not over.
No, it's not.
And closures might be right now, but like the trauma has started. And like the world, I feel like COVID was like kind of like the explosion of all the tinder that was being built up prior to it. So it was just, it was the match that lit. It was the match.
Yep, I gotcha.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, you're 100% right.
Yeah.
Yeah, hang in there.
Hang there. You're doing good stuff.
You're doing the good work.
Yeah.
Yep.
A hard left turn. We're going to say spiccato after the breaks.
Yeah, spiccato after the break. I want to take a quick break and thank my husband, Bryan, who's been working behind the scenes producing these episodes every week on all of the platforms and on time. But you need to know that he is first a financial planner for Mission Trails Financial. Mission Trails Financial is a partner that seeks to guide clients in the journey to financial success. They believe that people need a financial advisor that aims to provide strategies for success. Mission Trails Financial helps people navigate investments, tax planning, and insurance. Imagine working with an advisor who isn't tied to specific brands. Mission Trails Financial has a fiduciary responsibility to act in the best interests of their clients by providing independent, objective advice. Their mission is to help clients accomplish their financial goals. As Joe Vitale once said, a goal should scare you a little and excite you a lot. Do yourself a favor and set up a time to chat with Mission Trails Financial. Visit www.missiontrailsfinancial.com or call 619-419-0238 to schedule a call. You'll be glad you did. We believe that leaning on professionals is how we get ahead. Check out the program notes for more information. Are we ready for spiccato?
Let's do it. Before spiccato, though, I would like to thank everybody. This is episode 74. This is our 75th episode, though.
What?
This is our 75th episode. And if you
No, it's 74th.
No, this is episode 74, but plus 0. That's our 75th episode.
Gotcha.
So, to those who've been following us since... Boop. Thank you for following us for so long. It's been a pleasure serving you all. And we've loved all the comments and messages you've sent us over the time. We also have loved... I mentioned in the last episode, but we ran into some chaotic harmony folk at AOSA conference. It was great to run into you. So
thanks for talking to us.
Seriously, yeah,
that was fun.
So thank you so much for making this into a really cool, small little community that's growing. But do you know how it grows more?
You gotta tell people.
You gotta tell people.
Oh yeah,
but
leave a review.
Both.
Yeah.
You can do both.
Yeah.
You can do both. So tell a friend and leave a review.
Post it on your social.
Indeed.
Tag us.
Be Arbra, like last week, who left us a review. Make sure you write it out. But also, if you're just going to give numbers on Spotify or iTunes or whatever listening app, 5.
5, baby.
Unless they do 10 for some reason, but 5.
I've literally never heard that.
Yeah. Well,
it's 5.
Then there's also anyways.
Leave 2 reviews and then it could be 10.
There we have it. And also, if you are, whether you are or not on YouTube, like and subscribe. It helps us. Once again, makes this community grow more and more. And if we keep on seeing more people on YouTube, maybe we'll do some more stuff visually. I don't know. We have a big base that's just audio, but if you are actually a YouTube viewer, let us know.
Let us know.
Yeah. And if you want to reach out to us, you can always email us at chaoticharmonyclassroom@gmail.com. Oh, but before that, I forgot. It's relatively new. Also, if you want to help continue to keep these lights on, we have a Patreon. Patreon.com/CHClassroom.
Patreon keeps the lights on.
It does. And we want to thank our first Patreon subscriber. Thank you, Jamie, for helping us out.
Thank you so much. Helps us a ton. Yes.
We will give a shout out to anyone who else helps us out. So, maybe we'll do something else. I don't know. We'll percolate on it.
We'll have a party.
Okay. So, Patreon.com, we have a lot of stuff, different kinds of perks if you get higher and higher, 5 or 10, But then Al said, let's get to the Spiccato. Oh, jingles.
It's a jingle bell.
It's a silver bell.
It's a silver bell because it is December. And these came out of... Yeah. This will be released in December.
That's right.
My house is decorated for Christmas. And I don't care what you say, the turkey tastes better with the tree up. So my tree is up, even though it's not Thanksgiving yet.
Okay.
Yep. All right. So what would you use jingle bells for in the classroom? Silver bells.
I could see. This reminds me of bear bells. Have you ever used bear bells before?
No.
Have you ever been to bear country before?
No.
Like hiking in Montana.
Do you use it to scare the bears away?
Not to scare, to notify the bears that, hey, there's a presence, so that they aren't scared when they see you at first.
Oh, gotcha.
So, yeah. I feel like this could be used in some sort of you take I don't know which book, but you take a book, and the bells could be great for when the bears walk in. I don't know.
Oh, okay, got it. So it's part of a timbre lesson.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah. That's my first thought. So if you're just an audio listener, it's a silver bell. There's some stars and snowflakes also cut in it, and we have that sound.
I thought it sounded pretty.
It does sound nice. Also can be used as a makeshift sleigh bell, obviously.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What would you do?
Well, I love teaching the kids how to properly jingle a bell to a steady beat, where you hold it in your fist and then you knock your fist together so that you can get that clear, steady beat. And they really like that. I have a couple clusters of bells that look like grapes. They're made to look like grapes, and they really enjoy playing those. And so that's what immediately came to my mind for the bell. But it's also nice to give it to the leader of an activity, and they can use the bell. I've had this be the sound of the magic, and everybody pretends to hold a magic wand, and they follow the magic in a movement activity. So put on some sort of nice, soft, flowing music, and then let somebody be the magic maker.
It could also be an attention grabber as well for a specific kind of activity. So something I like to do with movement is have them close their eyes and do a movement to a certain thing I tell them to. But when they hear a cue, they go back to their neutral standing position.
Oh, yeah.
That could be their cue.
That is a good idea.
Yeah, especially if it's winter themed kind of activity.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
What are your thoughts? Let us know.
I have a tiny little bell song. I'll teach it. Shake those bells and shake them high. Shake those bells and shake them low. Shake those bells and shake them high. Shake those bells and here we go. Now a little faster. Here we go. Shake those bells and shake them high. Shake those bells and shake them low. Shake those bells and shake them high. Shake those bells and here we go. And we just keep getting faster and faster until it's ridiculous. And when I decide we're done, I'll say, and touch your nose. And they all mess up. It's great. And we laugh. It's fun.
That's great.
That's the bell song. I got that when I was teaching baby classes. That was fun.
That's not a round of the week, by the way.
It's not a round of the week. It's a bonus. No, we have a different round of the week.
Speaking of which.
Round of the week. Here is our round of the week. It is called Cuddly Koalas. And I thought it would be.
Have you ever cuddled a koala?
They look so cuddly. They do. And I had a stuffed koala as a child.
If you've ever cuddled a koala, let us know.
Ooh, I want to know. I
am curious,
pics or it didn't happen.
That's true.
And this is to the tune of Frere Jacques. And I thought it would be an excellent vocal warm-up. It's a good articulation warm-up.
All right.
Shall we? Cuddly koalas, possums too, wallabies and wombats, kangaroos, cuddly koalas, possums too, wallabies and wombats, kangaroos.
Kangaroos.
That was very cute.
Cutes.
I like it.
I like it.
Wallabies and wombats is hard to say.
Wallabies. Well, also, when you see it for the first time, is it wallabies? Wallabies.
Wallaby.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you for that. And thank you for this talk, Crystal. If people want to reach out, People want to reach more with you regarding bunker babies.
Sure.
Where can they reach out to you? Or anything else.
You can find me anywhere under my real name. Instagram is Mrs.Pridmore. You can find me at crystalpridmore.com. You can find me on Twitter at FinnyVappa if you want to see the occasional school tweet.
What's your fake name then?
I don't know. I'm not saying.
And you can follow
my secret identity.
Secret identity. It's time for us to figure that out. You can also find me at Mr. Seligman, MrSeligman, on all the socials, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, now Hive. I'm trying this out, seeing how this works out. Maybe I might leave Twitter because Twitter's a hot mess still.
Literally thought that was a dating app when you first said it.
To be quite frank, I thought that was a dating app as well.
Yeah.
It sounds like Bumble. It makes you think that Bumble.
Exactly.
But no, Hives is a different, it's more catered towards Gen Z folk, but it's become big since the mass exodus. Also, if you want to, if CH Classroom should jump onto Hive, let us know. If you are on Hive, let me know. Follow me. Okay, I have only one follower, so help me out. As of the day of recording, which I just created today, hours ago.
That's so sad.
It is what it is. Also, you can find us, as I mentioned earlier, at CH Classroom on all the socials: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. You can find us on YouTube at ch-class, and you can always email us chaoticharmonyclassroom@gmail.com. And if you want to support us, patreon.com/chclassroom.
People can't tell when you whisper.
Yes, they can.
Oh.
Well, I mean, let us know. Actually, I can hear myself rather well when I listen to myself in early podcasts.
All right, maybe I'm just deaf.
Maybe I know.
All right. Okay, bye.
Bye.
The Chaotic Harmony podcast is a joint project between Crystal Pridmore and Jonathan Seligman. You can find us online at chaoticharmonyclassroom.com. You can email us at chaoticharmonyclassroom@gmail.com and let us know what you think. Give us feedback about what you would like to hear in future episodes. We're on all the socials. Find us on facebook.com/chaoticharmonyclassroom. You can find us on Twitter at @chclassroom, Instagram at chaoticharmonyclassroom, and you can even find our episodes on YouTube. Chaotic Harmony is the name of our channel. Special thanks to Bryan Pridmore for his help with production and equipment. www.pridmoria.com.
A tarantula enjoys a fine chewing gum. Snoopy was the...
What are you doing?
Snoopy was stabbed by a spear.
Oh my god.
Okay, what's next? The garden gnome has...
What are you looking at? What are you showing him? What is this?
We're moving on. Welcome to Chaotic Harmony and SFW.
Oh, vocal warm-ups?
Get your pronunciation precise.
But there is definitely some NSFW stuff.
Where did you get this list?
This is the Ron Burgundy edition. Here. The Human Torch is denied a bank loan. Huh. The arsonist has oddly shaped feet. Oh, the internet would love to see those.
Are we ready for Spiccato?